Okay, Rabbi Griscott here with our daily study of Pirkei Avot, the Mishnah Ethics of the Fathers, for those who have yard site for tonight. In addition, I'm wearing a suit today, sadly, because I just came from a funeral of one of our older members, Ed Chaikin, who just passed away at the age of 95. So our words of Torah today should also be in his memory, Ephraim ben Mendel, as well as those who have yard site for tonight, the 26th of Sivan. Sandra Birnbaum, Labe Bratman, Robin Brown, Joel Kubel, Sarah Stein, and Solomon Taylor. May their memory be for a blessing. A link to the text of the Mishnah will be in the first comment below. Chapter 4, Mishnah 2. Ben Azai Omer, Have a Ratz L'mitzvah Kala Kavachamura, Uvoreach Min Ha'avera, Shemitzvah Goreres Mitzvah, Va'avera Goreres Avera, Sheschar Mitzvah Mitzvah, Schar Avera Avera. Okay, Ben Azai says, run to fulfill a light mitzvah as if it were a weighty one, and flee from transgression. Okay, you should always be enthusiastic to do a mitzvah, even if it's a light one in your eyes. And that's because you don't really know the reward for what mitzvah you might do. So the example I always give of doing a mitzvah for some reason in my mind is always giving $1 to a homeless person. And I think that's based on my experience having lived in New York for so long, where that was the mitzvah that I always had the opportunity to do all the time, just walking through the streets of Manhattan. There's always beggars, and just giving them $1 is sort of an easy daily mitzvah that one could do there in New York. So that's always my personal example of that seems like a light mitzvah, right? But run to fulfill it. Run meaning with enthusiasm and with a smile, as if it were a heavier mitzvah. What's a heavier mitzvah version of giving tzedakah? Maybe going to the soup kitchen on Thanksgiving and feeding a whole bunch of people delicious meals. So you might think, well, just handing this guy this $1 is not as big a deal as that, but you don't know. He might have just brightened his entire day and how much he needed that, and so on and so forth. So you should always be enthusiastic about mitzvahs in equal way. Also, run away from transgression, right? Just like you should run to do a mitzvah, you shouldn't just say, I choose not to do that sin. You should treat it like it's some sort of like boiling hot potato that you have to drop and run away from. For one mitzvah draws another mitzvah, and one transgression draws another transgression. Because a mitzvah leads to another mitzvah, and an avera, a transgression, leads to another sin. This is what Pirkei Avot and what I keep hammering home, that Judaism is all about routine and habituation. So when you do a good deed, you're more likely to habituate yourself. Remember what I said about giving $1 to a homeless person? Think of us like similar to Pavlov's dog. We're animals of habit in some way, and the more you positively reinforce a particular action, the more you're likely to become that kind of person. Similar to a sin. I mean, you could think of the example of how people say marijuana is like a gateway drug to harder drugs. Well, if you make that analogy to sins, you start sinning lightly, but it's inevitably our human desire is insatiable, and it'll be like a gateway drug to more sins, and you'll need more and more to tide over that urge. So don't feed that animal, so to speak. Don't feed the evil urge. And here's a fascinating line: the reward of a mitzvah is a mitzvah, and the reward of a transgression is a transgression. There's a debate about what this means. Is this saying sort of a nice, cute expression that your grandma might say, a mitzvah is its own reward, a good deed is its own reward, and a sin is its own punishment, like the misery the guilt you feel of a sin is its own punishment? Or is it saying, coming on the heels of the previous line, it sounds like this is more likely, the reward of a mitzvah is another mitzvah, and the punishment for a sin is that you'll likely fall into additional sins. It's a little bit ambiguous. It could mean both, and it probably does mean both, actually, right? The reward of a mitzvah is the mitzvah itself and the positive feeling you get from it. Plus, the reward of a mitzvah is that you'll likely do more mitzvahs from that. This is not to negate reward and punishment. It's not like God is saying, well, the reward of a good deed is the good deed itself. Yeah, thanks a lot, God. But because we know from other sources that you also get other credit for your good deeds, credit in heaven, credit in this world, and you shouldn't just say that, if someone does some evil injustice and God says, well, their sin is their own punishment, so I'm not going to punish them more. That's not true either. We believe God punishes the wicked. If not in this world, then in the next world. But Ben Azai is saying something additional. In addition to that obvious principle of faith that we know there's reward and punishment, you ought to view it as the reward of a mitzvah is a mitzvah, which once again could mean the mitzvah itself or another mitzvah. And the punishment for a sin is the sin itself, or the fact that you'll likely fall into more sin. And with sin, for most people, it doesn't make you happy, right? There's guilt, and you just fall further and further into into the anger and the sadness that you feel from it. And you can think of giving into your temper. It usually doesn't make a person feel better. It kind of makes them feel worse. So um, that is true of sin and good deeds. Now we will say the El Malei Rachamim, including the name of Ed Chaikin, who just passed away, and all those who have yard sites for tonight. El Malei Rachamim, Shofein, Bamiromim, Hamitzei Menucha Nechon al Kanfei HaShechina, B'malos, Kedoshim Tahorim, Kezar, Harakia, Mazhirim, Es Nishmas, Ephraim ben Mendel, V'es Kol HaSkaros Shel HaLayla, Shel Chuli Olamam, Ba'avur, Shem Nispalnim, Bad HaSkaras Nishmasam, Began Eden Tehei Menuchasam, V'chein Bal HaRachamim, Yaskireim, B'Sefer Kenafav Li'olamim, V'yitzror B'tzor HaChaim, Es Nishmasam, Adonai hu nachlasam, yanuchu b'shalom mishkavasam, and Omar, Amen. And in English, O God, full of mercy, who dwells on high, grant proper rest on the wings of the divine presence, in the lofty levels of the holy and pure, who shine like the glow of the firmament. For the souls of Sandra Birnbaum, Labe Bratman, Robin Brown, Joel Kubel, Sarah Stein, and Solomon Taylor, whose yard sites are tonight, as well as the soul of Ed Chaikin, who just passed away, all in whose memory we study and pray. May their resting place be in the Garden of Eden. Therefore, may the Master of Mercy shelter them in the shelter of his wings for eternity. May he bind their soul in the bond of life. Hashem is their heritage. May they rest in peace. And let us say Amen.